Abbotsford Mike. So let me turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Jersey Joe. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here. I'd like to just quickly welcome all the newcomers. My name is Mike, and I am an alcoholic. I just want to also thank the host of this meeting and Kim for asking me to share. I'm honored. I'm absolutely nervous, and that's probably a good thing. That's a good thing. It probably means I'm not a psychopath because this is a lot of people. But I'm going to do the best I can. I hope that some people get some stuff out of this. In honor of such a momentous occasion for myself, I put on my best dress sweats. Right, so I'm wearing the best ones I got. They're good for this occasion. I guess we could start off. My first 11 years of not drinking, I white knuckled it, and then I turned 12. So as to say, I was restless, discontent, and irritable, anxious, afraid, and scared right from the beginning. As far back as my memory can tell me, and as far back as people have told me in my past, I was that weird kid, right? The one that the parents didn't want you hanging out with their kids. Like they do everything to keep you away from them. That was me, and that was my experience growing up. I was afraid often, and to help me with this, what I learned later on was a spiritual malady. I would seek solutions to get a sense of ease and comfort. Right? I remember chewing on things, whether that's pens or pencils or toys or other people, whatever would satisfy and quench that gnawing, anxious state that I was always in. I would try. I found ease and comfort through sports. I found it through fighting. Right. I was a fearful kid. Once again, that fear. I fought a lot. I used to blame it on being a left-handed redhead, but I later learned that's not the excuse for why I was feeling that way either. There was one thing when I was a kid that really did give me a massive amount of satisfaction, some ease and comfort, and that thing was cheese. Like I love cheese. You give me a brick of cheddar cheese and I'm good. I feel better, right? Whenever I was anxious or worried or scared, I'd reach for that cheese, I'd grab that cheese, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm okay. I'm good now. Now, I was always restless, discontent, and irritable on a daily basis, so that would mean that I ate cheese on a daily basis. See, my mind recorded cheese as my solution, and it had for a couple years, but there was a problem with cheese. Right? There's a big problem with cheese. Whenever I ate cheese, I had a physical reaction. Right? I got all bungled up. I got crampy. It was painful. Right? And so it progressively got worse. And it got so bad over the course of time that I ended up going to the hospital a couple times for what was believed to be appendicitis, because where that pain was in a similar place where I'd get cramps, right? Because it was really bad. And sure enough, a fart here or a fart there, and I'm good. I'm good to go. No hospital needed for this guy. But the pain, I tell you, was intense. The pain was intense. And I knew that cheese at this point equaled pain. I knew that. But there was a problem. I was incapable to bring into conscious with sufficient force the memory of humiliation and pain of even yesterday, not let alone a week or a month. I would reach for cheese absent-mindedly, knowing that pain was in the future sometimes. Right? I couldn't control myself. That restlessness was too much. I needed something right away. I remember my mom, everybody knew it. So my mom took all the cheese out. She took them all out. She took all the cheese out of my house. And as a result, I'm a young alcoholic kid without a solution. So I thought I was a genius at this point. I thought, all right, I negotiated with my mom, right? The reality was my mom just couldn't handle me anymore. So she caved in. But I negotiated with my mom. I remember saying, Mom, that's cheddar cheese. That's what's the problem. What about Havarti? What about Swiss? Right? That is better. It's the cheddar. And my mom gave in. But I know now that it was just because I was a horrible, horrible little kid to be around without a solution. So cheese stopped working. Much like, funny enough, so did my alcoholism or alcohol for me later on in life. But the funny thing was, all of a sudden I found that solution, that one that cheese wasn't doing for me, and that was alcohol. Alcohol did for me what cheese couldn't, right? Alcohol did for me what cheese couldn't. Cheese was a demonstration. What I was talking about was we have a threefold illness, right? We have the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. And the mental and the spiritual was what I was like when I demonstrated my affinity for some cheddar cheese, that block of cheese. But when I drank, something happened to me, right? All of a sudden, I'm funny. I'm better looking. I'm charismatic, right? I'm everything I want to be, and certainly cheese can do that, right? So you can imagine, if I'm willing to go to the hospital for cheese, what I'm willing to do for that satisfaction that alcohol brought to me. Well, fast forward. So I'm feeling pretty good. Drinking's doing wonderful things for me. As a matter of fact, drinking was a perfectly good solution for me at that time. It helped me get through that period in life. But as we all know, it turned on me. And in my case, it turned on me fairly quickly. I don't get into many drunkalogs about how I went into drinking, so I'll probably fast forward a bit. So you take what I'm willing to do for cheese, you mix some alcohol in it, and it's a recipe for disaster. That threefold mental illness has taken me to what just became, that just led me into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Just before I got into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I got sober on May 1st, 2015. So yes, I'm just over 5 years of consistent sobriety. Not that really matters. It's a one day at a time program. And also, if you're thinking May 1st, yes, I am a Taurus in my sobriety. I'm a sobriety Taurus. And that's funny because I am very bullheaded, right? I'm hard to convince. I have contempt prior to investigation. Well, anyways, I think that I'll give an example of where I was at prior to coming into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So my story on the few days prior to me coming in is always the same. I woke up, I wiped the chip crumbs and the bread crumbs and whatever else off my back. I got up off a mattress that probably hadn't had a sheet on it in over a year, and I surveyed the landscape of where I was at. This would be a state that would be best described in our big book as pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. See, when I looked out after getting up on that bed and looked at my surroundings, what I saw was filth, disgust, and garbage. And in many cases where it was 2 feet high. It was piled up so much and everywhere so much that the only floor space you could see where I was residing, because I didn't live there, I was residing there, was foot trails to a bathroom, right? The rest is garbage. Little footpaths to a bathroom. And then to a front door. Now that bathroom hadn't worked in 6 months. We had to go to the bathtub, unfortunately. That's the extent of my thing. Now, mentally, this is where I was at. So I'm looking up off this bed one day, and because of that stink, that smell, that garbage, it attracted many, many flies, right? So I'm sitting back on this bed, and I'm thinking to myself, man, these flies have it made. Now, this isn't the type of thinking that a normal, sane man would make. But to me, it made perfect sense. These flies have it made. And here's why. Flies bug around and annoy everybody that they come around. I am like a fly. I annoy everybody that I come around. Now, I also understood that wherever a fly lands, it takes a crab and it takes off. And the funny thing is, wherever I went, I crapped all over everything and then I took off. Right? I was like a fly. But here's why I was jealous of the fly. The fly could crap all over everything, annoy anybody it comes into contact with, but then take off without a care in the world. But for me, I would annoy everybody I came into contact with. I would crap all over everything I went. I'd lead a path of destruction on everything I touched. But when I went, I brought more shame and more guilt. Right? A friend of mine in this program has got 50 plus years. He always describes us alcoholics as shame-based to the core. Shame-based to the core. And that describes me. I was shame-based to the core without a solution. As the result of my alcoholism, I kept pushing stuff down. And it got worse and worse until it got to those inevitable points where you don't think you can go on anymore, where you're absolutely and utterly hopeless. Right? I can't imagine even the next day, let alone the next few hours of my existence. So that was just before I got in. Now here's the funny thing. I'm super excited. I find out I'm going to get into treatment. I get into treatment, and I'm a couple weeks, 3 weeks in, and I'm just as bad off as I was in those 3 days. Right? I thought that if I just stopped drinking, I would be okay. I would be okay. Like it made perfect sense to me that I would be okay. So I'm in treatment center, and I'd just been exposed to someone who was very convincing, and I came away with a thorough understanding that I was absolutely, utterly powerless against alcohol. It was explained to me. I identified with it. I knew that every single time I drink, after talking with this gentleman and doing some homework, I knew that every single time I drank, I could not stop. I had no idea where it was going to lead me up to. I knew now at this point. I was absolutely and utterly convinced. But now the problem came. Here's the problem. I'm absolutely, utterly convinced that I can no longer drink again. But I don't believe that Alcoholics Anonymous is going to work for me. Right? I suffer from contempt prior to investigation. Right? I suffer from terminal uniquism. All those things that happen to a newcomer when they come into Alcoholics Anonymous, I suffered those. So if anybody's in here and they think they're different, I hear you. I thought I was different, and you couldn't convince me otherwise, right? I mean, God forbid some 80-year-old book is going to help a genius, like-minded individual like myself get over alcoholism. So one night I'm in my room in a treatment center, room 202 in King Haven out here in BC. And I'm that squirrel cage is going a million miles an hour. The volume in my head is turned up. I am absolutely afraid. I feel so much terror at this point because here's what I had understood. I understood that I can no longer drink again, and that filled me with a lot of terror. But I also understood that I can never drink again successfully. And then I couldn't imagine not drinking, right? They talk about it in the big book as a jumping off point, right? A loneliness only few know. And I'm sure every one of us in these rooms know that loneliness, right? That state, right? I know that I'm effed, right? Effed up, right? I don't know what to do. And especially when the fact that I can't imagine using Alcoholics Anonymous, this whole God concept, all this stuff. That's not going to work for me, right? That's for you simple people. You simple-minded people, not a gentleman like me, right? I need scientific facts to help me, right? Like, let's get with it. This is 2015. How's something from 1935 going to help me? Right? That makes sense. It made sense to me at that time. So I'm sitting in my room and I'm trying to escape, and it's hours now. This volume's cranked up. I'm fearful that I can no longer listen to. I can no longer listen to anybody anymore. I'm deathly afraid that I am going to die very soon because I don't see hope. Even in sobriety, I'm at that lowest of low points. I'm still envying the fly. I'm still wishing I could be a fly at this point. And I'm in sobriety. How is that possible? So in order to escape these thoughts, right? I'm desperate to go to sleep. I want to go to sleep. So I start reading stuff because that always helped me sleep. I read some UFO books, right? I read the newspaper. I am desperate. Nothing seems to be working for me. I go in, I'm so desperate that I go into the bathroom at the treatment center and I start grabbing out all the shampoo balls, all the soap balls, and I start reading the backs of all those, right? I'm desperate. I need help. I can't turn this volume down in my head. Now, this whole time, I am very aware that despite me reading UFO books, reading backs of shampoo balls, that my roommate had a big book right beside him that I could have grabbed at any time. So finally, I am beaten down to a sense of reasonableness. It's about 2 a.m. and I can't take it anymore. And I finally reach for that big book. Now, looking back on it now, but not at that time, did I realize I think what my fear was about grabbing that big book was I was afraid it was going to work. I was deathly afraid it was going to work and what that would entail. What would I have to do? Something that the unknown terrified me. I needed to have everything in order. I needed to know exactly how things were going to work in order for me to take any sort of thing. I have no faith at this time in anything, right? The only faith I have is in this guy, right? Which is a bad place to have faith in, as we all know, Alcoholics Anonymous. But here's what happened. A wonderful thing happened to me. I grabbed that book simply because I was beaten down to a sense of reasonableness. I had no other option. And the next thing I remember, I woke up with the best sleep I'd had in a very long time. Because what happened to me was I read Bill's story. And when I read Bill's story, something came over me. I thought like Bill. I drank like Bill. I talked like Bill. I walked like Bill. I did everything like Bill. And all those meetings I was going to just prior to this moment started to click in. See, when I was going to those meetings, my mind was shut off. I wasn't letting anything in. I wasn't wanting to hear anything. I thought you guys were all a bunch of kooks, right? A bunch of nut jobs pulling some sort of, witchcraft on me, right? Wanting to brainwash me. Turns out I needed to be brainwashed. That's what needed to be done. So now I've gotten hope, right? I got hope. For some reason, everything clicked. I got excited for the big book for the first time in my life. And I tried this a few other times in the first 10 years prior to this. But for the first time, I was excited to learn more. Now, I found a sponsor. I found a home group right after this, like the next day. And I proceeded to go through the steps. Just checking the time. Okay, I'm gonna hurry this up a little bit more. So now this excitement has happened. I've got a home group, I've got a sponsor, and I proceeded to go through the steps, and something happened. Something happened. And in the promises, it says about halfway through, which to me means around 4 and 5. I woke up. And for the first time in a long time, after doing that and doing that hour to myself on my 4 and 5 and the steps that I did, and for the first time, I woke up sober and not afraid, right? My mind was calm. Can you believe that? My mind was calm. I didn't have noise. It was a crazy experience, right? I was excited to live my life sober for the very first time that I can ever remember. Now that excitement continued, right? I was that guy. Now, looking back, it's pretty off-putting, the type of guy I was. One of those guys who did the steps, who was super excited. I was doing everything aside from knocking on people's doors and telling them good news. And if I could have knocked on people's doors and told them good news, I would. I was the guy who was going around, running to everybody, telling them you guys got to do the 12 steps. I don't care if you're an alcoholic. You got to do the 12 steps. I'm telling everybody. I'm preaching. I'm on hills. I'm standing up everywhere. I'm telling everybody. Oh my God, you guys have no idea this thing, the 12 steps. Everybody's got to do it. It's the best. Come, people, come see me. I will share with you this new thing I found. But as we all know, just doing this, going to the book, and then it doesn't mean you're okay. We have to practice these things on a daily basis. So I believe at this point in time, I was actually more living off of my 4 and 5, right? That excitement, because at this, right after I'd done steps, I still wasn't praying every day, right? I was okay, here and there I would, especially if things were a little bad, but it wasn't something I was consistently doing. And to be honest, I didn't really give too much stock into it. Yet I was still pretty excited about the steps. I want to talk to you about it. It made a lot of sense. I feel pretty down. Now, on my 90th day, I finally got to go see my mom for the very first time since I had come into this treatment center. I'm very excited, and part of it is I'm going to make some amends. And I had to take a bus to my mom's because I didn't have a car at this time or any license or anything like that. And she lived in Surrey, and I was in Abbotsford. And so I left, and I ended up leaving my cell phone. I left my cell phone charger, I apologize, at home. Now I get to my mom, I do an amends, we're having an amazing moment, we're hugging, she's so happy for me, life is pretty grand. Like, I'm unstoppable, people. 90 days, I'm unstoppable. You can't knock me off of my cliff. Right? But this is what I'm about to say is a story about how quickly things can turn, even if we feel like we're untouchable. So I woke up that next morning at my mom's house, and my mom had gone to work, and I felt restless, irritable, and discontented. I recognized that. I knew what I was. And I'd been going to this meeting at 6:40 in the morning every day at this point. Now I didn't have it, so I felt a little off. So I did what I was supposed to do. I went onto my phone, and I looked up a meeting in the area. And I found this meeting was called 9:45 Coffee and Donuts meeting. So I call up the bus information. My phone's beeping because it's almost about to die, right? Like, I have no battery, like it's dying, and there's no other way. So I call bus information, and I ask them, where is this place? And I give them the address, and all of a sudden the bus guy says, you got to get up to the street called 156, and then all of a sudden the phone dies, and he's gone. And I'm like, shit, right? What do I do? Right? I know I need to go to a meeting. That's what I need to do. That's what I've been programmed now at this point to do. So I run up to 156. And there's 4 bus stops on 4 corners. And I have no clue on which bus I got to take. So I'm a little off, right? I don't have control, right? All of a sudden, I don't have control. That makes me feel anxious. So I'm restless. So I pace from corner to corner to corner to corner. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm 90 days sober. I'll just get on this bus and people will tell me where this place is. Of course they will. They'll be patting me on the back and parading me around on their shoulders because don't they know I'm 90 days sober? I don't need to know. I'll just tell them. So eventually a bus comes, and I have no idea where I'm going, and I'm feeling off, right? I'm feeling a little perplexed. Maybe would be a good word. And all of a sudden, I hop on this bus, and I start asking people, do you guys know where this place is? Now, of course, nobody knows where this place is, but I'm still full of self that I think that everybody's going to know and somebody's going to help me, but that's not the case. And now I'm sitting back on this bus, and for the first time, I'm feeling pretty down since I've done these wonderful things called the 12 steps. I feel like the wind's knocked out of my sails. And as this bus is coming, a lady comes up and she tells me, Mike, or she didn't say Mike. See, that's how self-centered I am. She had no idea who I am, but she heard me asking. It said, you need to get off of this stop right here. And it was at this place called 180th and 48th in Surrey. And I jump off, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just on faith alone. And when I get there, there's 4 corners and there's 4 bus stops. And now I'm feeling really low. And it's coming quick. It's coming really quick. And I'm starting to pace between all these places. And for the first time, the idea of a drink hits my mind. And I'm feeling like I don't have control. And I don't like that feeling. And I'm feeling anxious. And my phone's dead. And I can't call anybody. So as I'm going along and I'm waiting for this bus to go to this meeting, and I have no clue where I am and where it is, I start thinking to myself, maybe a drink is a good idea, right? Nobody's going to know. Nobody is going to know. Nobody. They're not going to know. I'm good at hiding it. And then I proceed to have an imaginary conversation with my sponsor in my head. And we are arguing hard back and forth in this imaginary thing in my head. Everybody, we're going at it. My sponsor's bringing up some really good points, but I'm coming back with why a drink's a good idea, right? And all of a sudden, a bus comes, and I decide to hop on it, and I feel absolutely low. That quick, I felt very great in the morning. I woke up, I'm excited for the day, and then by the time I'm at this bus, I am feeling exactly low. I had an imaginary argument with my sponsor in my head that I won. And at that point in time, I told him, I said, I have a home group. I did the 12 steps. I'm a service position. I'm the greeter. I'm doing everything you guys told me to do, and I feel this way. I feel ripped off, right? I feel like, oh my God, no, this doesn't work for me. And I feel low. I'm hopeless. I'm afraid. And all of a sudden, I made a decision. That quick, I made a decision. If this bus, wherever this bus lands, I'm going to get out and I'm going to have a drink. It's that how quick it went, right? I went from super high and feeling great to that low, that quick. Now I sat back on this bus, and for some reason it was fairly empty. And I think to myself, actually, what it was is I heard my sponsor's voice come into my head. And he says, yeah, you've done all those things, but here's what you haven't done. You haven't prayed. Right? You haven't prayed. So I'm on this empty bus, and I'm traveling along, and I decide. Now, here's the thing. I decided to say a prayer, but not because I really wanted help. I decided to say a prayer at this point in time so that it could be another thing I checked off my list so that I can drink with impunity, so I can drink and come back and tell everybody that I did everything they said and then feel good about the decision I'm about to make. So I go, I'm sitting on this bus, I'm alone, and I say something along these lines. God, if you're out there, you need to help me now because I'm about to go burn my life down. And here, this is an absolute true story. And this is why I believe, this is how the 12 steps work in my life. And I'll tell you why. So the very next stop after I say this prayer and I ask for God's help, a guy jumps in onto the bus and he's tattooed from head to toe. Anywhere, all over his body, he's tattooed his neck, his arms, his hands, and everything. And he comes and he keeps walking up this bus and he comes and he sits right across from me. There's an empty bus. He could sit in any damn chair he wanted, but he came and he sat directly across from me. And because of his tattoos, I sized him up. And I looked at him. And here's what I noticed. On the webbing of his hand, right there, this is like 10 seconds after I prayed. On the webbing of his hand right there was a tattoo of the Alcoholics Anonymous circle and triangle. 10 seconds after I prayed, at a point where I'd given up on Alcoholics Anonymous, where I was about to go and drink, and then this happened. And I asked him, I said, hey man, I was blown away, right? I was blown away. And I said, do you know where this coffee and donuts meeting is? And he said, yeah, it's basically my home group. I will take you there. I will take you there. See, at 90 days, I almost lost what I have right now, which is a beautiful, beautiful life. All I needed to do was ask for God's help at that point in time. Now, here's why I believe the steps work. It's because now, having known how all this works, I believe God's been in my life, or my higher power's been in my life, my whole entire life, right? But I couldn't see it. I couldn't access it. I couldn't tap into that power. But as a result of doing the steps, clearing away the wreckage of my past, doing my amends, and practicing the principles in all of my affairs, I had cleared a pathway. I had cleared a conscious contact to a God that I never believed in, that I never thought was possible, that I never wanted anything to do with. See, the steps cleared that channel. I was blind prior to the steps, and now I can see. And that's how the 12 steps work in my life. Now, everything's rosy, right? I'm praying. after this moment, I've never missed a day of praying since that time. Right, I believe, and I was so afraid to pray in front of people. Even after this, I didn't want to pray in front of people. I was still a little scared of it, right? Because I was fearful of being a hypocrite. But nonetheless, I'm praying every day. So you fast forward, my life is going splendid. But here's the thing, and Alcoholics Anonymous, faith without works, right? Faith without works. So I can be praying all day, but if I'm not taking action, it's not going to help me, right? I can revert back very quickly. Within moments, I can revert back to my pre 12 steps. So at about 9 months of sobriety, I've been sailing, and I haven't probably been practicing the principles in all my affairs. I certainly haven't been writing my 10s and doing my 11s as much as I could. Right? People are telling me I'm the greatest guy in the world. I'm going to be this world speaker, right? I'm going to be standing on stages, preaching to everybody. Now, not a single person told me that, by the way. Not one person. But here's what happens in my head when I'm not practicing these principles, right? My head gets distorted. It gets broken. I start going, Bob D describes it, and it's fantastic, and I can totally relate. An alcoholic is an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, right? That's me, egomaniac with an inferiority complex. So I'm thinking, I got to prove to all these people that aren't actually telling me that I'm the greatest guy in the world. But I got to prove to all of them that I'm a genius, that I'm the smartest. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to show all these people. I'm going to university. I'm excited. I'm going to university. What an opportunity, right? I got to show everybody the great one that is mine. I'm excited. So in order for this to process, I need to go to, I didn't have funding, so I had to go seek out some funding. And one of these places I went to seek out funding to pay for university was this place called Abbotsford Works. And one of the things that I was supposed to do in order to get funding was do an 8-hour psychological assessment. Wow, 8-hour psychological assessment. What they need to know is, like, if they're going to put money on me, is it worth it, right? So they want to know if this is okay. So I asked this lady, I go, whoa, wow, what does this all entail? And she says, well, you'll probably have to do like an IQ test. And I said, stop right there. You have me at IQ test. You have me at IQ test. And here's why. What an opportunity to show the rest of the world the genius that is Mike, right? See, I have this distorted thinking, right? This is the result of me not practicing the principles in all my affair. I feel absolutely inferior. But as a result of that inferior feeling, I've gone to this extreme other side in order to find like some sort of ease for me. So a few days later, I get to this profile. I'm working with this guy, and he gives me all these sheets, and I'm ticking off all these answers. I'm doing this IQ test, and I'm thinking, wow, I am probably the greatest guy since sliced bread. I'm practically, a world beater here, fellas. I am the next Will Hunting, right? I'm going to be solving all the world's problems on one chalkboard at a time. People are loving it, right? Like they're not going to get enough of me, right? This is a great opportunity to show the people that I am what I think I am. So I'm doing all these things. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Hours are ticking by, and I'm on the super high, right? And no one can stop me. I'm on a perch. And then he leaves, and he's gone for a while. And then that left me to think. And this is, I kid you not, what I thought. He's probably taking so long because he's calling his colleagues to tell him about this genius that he just found. Right? He's calling the papers, he's calling people, he's letting them know, I've discovered this talent, this guy, he's a world beater, we're going to put him out in the papers. I'm on a different level of insanity here, folks, right, at this point in time. I'm looking in the mirror to see what side my face looks good on, and for the obvious papers and all the photo opportunities is going to happen. So eventually he comes back, and I'm sitting down, and he comes and he sees me and he says, Mike, I have great news for you. Great news. And I'm like, obviously, right? Like, come on, give it to me. He goes, now the whole point of this thing is just to be approved to go to university, right? Like, he just needs to make sure that I can do it. He says, I got absolutely great news. Mike, You are average and adequate enough to take university level education. Average and adequate. Average and adequate. Are you kidding me? How could that be? Right? How could that be? Now here's my alcoholism though, and then I'm saying that inferiority, that twisted thinking that I got. See, I didn't hear average and adequate. Here's what I heard. I heard, Mike, you're a failure. You're a loser. You'll never amount to anything. You might as well give up because you're never going to make anything with your life. You're stupid. And then this stopped. You might as well just go and drink. Now, for the first time since that time on the bus, I felt that blow, that average and adequate. It hit me in the stomach. It pounded me through the chest. My heart was racing. I felt sick to my stomach. I could not believe that I was average and adequate. It killed me. But here's the thing about 12 steps, because I did work it. I did do my 10s, I did my 11s, and I've experienced some things in the past, and I knew what to do. And so what I did was I removed myself to the bathroom, and I proceeded to do my step 10, right? Because I knew what to do when I felt my tightness in my chest. I knew I heard it. So I went into the bathroom, and I proceeded to look at my fears. What am I fearful of? I'm fearful that if I'm not smart, no one's going to like me. I'm fearful that if I don't get into university or all these things, that people are going to think that I'm not worth it, right? My old childhood behavior, that spiritual malady came and kicked right in. No one's going to love me if I am not special. I checked on my resentments. I checked on everything on my list. And then I proceeded to do the thing that I was told to do next, and that was pray. And I asked God for guidance in this after I'd cleared away that pain and I had seen what was tormenting me and all this stuff. And this is what I heard in my head very quickly. Right after that prayer, right after I did my step 10, Mike, average and adequate is fantastic. Average and adequate is awesome. Average and adequate is one of the best things that has ever happened to you. Now here's why. 9 months prior to that, I was living in filth. I was living in garbage. I couldn't look people in the eyes. I was slurring my words when I came into a treatment center. I was close to death. I had no faith in anything, and I was utterly hopeless. And in 9 very short months, I am average and adequate enough to take university level education. That is fantastic. I hadn't been to school in 20 plus years. I never graduated, basically. I never paid attention to school since I was like in grade 7. And now, in 9 short months, I went from homelessness, basically, living in filth and garbage, not being able to look at anybody in the eye, and now I am average and adequate enough to go to university level education. Right? That's fantastic. See, Alcoholics Anonymous, when I practice the principles, when I do the steps, it lets me know that I'm okay. It's changed. I have a psychic change in my thinking. When I practice these things, I can get through anything. I'm okay. I'm okay. I love these steps. I love how my life has changed. Today I finished. I had a certificate. I finished. I've completed my diploma. I'm about a year and a half away from getting my degree. I have a vehicle now. I have a lovely wife, or not a wife, but she might as well be. I have a clean place and a clean slate. On May 16th, I was supposed to share at this meeting. I was supposed to be the speaker on May 16th, but unfortunately, I had to. I had to let you go. I couldn't speak because the morning of May 16th, the day I was supposed to speak, I found my mom in her kitchen, passed away. I am so grateful today. And here's why. Despite how much pain I've experienced in this, it's despite the crushing feeling I have, despite that loneliness that I feel and how much I miss my mother, I know that I'm gonna be okay. I know that I'm gonna be okay. I know that my mom is proud of me. I was able, as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous and a power greater than myself, to give my mom the greatest gift that she'd ever received. And that's her words. She never had to worry about me for the last 5 years. Prior to that, she never heard from me for months and months at a time. She didn't know if I was going to die. She had gone through so much torture and so much pain as a result of my untreated alcoholism. But in these last 5 years, I was able to give my mom the greatest gift that I could have given her. Today, because I know that other people have gone before me and experienced the exact same thing and even worse, and they've made it through the other side. I know I will too. I know that I have an army of alcoholics who have supported me and will continue to support me. I know that I have a power greater than myself. See, Alcoholics Anonymous gave me the greatest gift of all, a bigger gift. The 12 steps, the program, gave me the greatest gift of all, because prior to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was purposeless. I had no meaning. I had no hope. And today, I have purpose. I have meaning. And I have hope. And I have direction. I have a conscious contact to a power greater than myself that I can tap into when my most lowest of lows. When I am the most fearful, when I'm the most sad. And I get the gift to share to others that are new here that there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that I can't go through sober when I am using the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, when I'm practicing these principles in all my affairs. Today I'm okay. And that's pretty fantastic, because I was never okay. I was never okay. I was never okay for 35 years of my life, and today I can honestly say I've been okay consistently on a day-to-day basis, despite the most horrific pain I've ever experienced. And I get an opportunity to share that, and to share the fact that nothing, absolutely nothing, can make me drink. So I want to thank everybody here for giving me the opportunity to share. I want to thank everybody that who listened. I hope that some people got some stuff. I have no idea what the time is, but I imagine it's pretty close. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Abbotsford Mike. That was fantastic. Um, I identify with so much of your talk, and at the end, uh, when you talked about your mother passing away, I know when my mother passed away, um, I felt